Okay, so let's just start this episode by giving our traditional shout out to nobody. Actually, no, this time let's give a shout out to some people because last time on Instagram there was a lot of hate that I got for not giving shout out to anybody. So, if you're a regular listener, I am feeling compelled to give you a shout out this time and this time only. So, thanks for listening. Ra, what do you think?
So you're not shitting on people this time. So
I mean, we
that's
will.
not for funny intro.
I mean, if you think about it, they have pretty sad and boring lives, and this is the only voice of reason and happiness in their life. So,
There you go.
now
this is what people were waiting for 2 weeks. We didn't do it last week, so this is exactly what people were missing in their lives.
Exactly the voice of reason and happiness, and now you have it. And no matter how sad your life is, Combustible Brains is here now. So, at least for the next
Combustible Brains is here for your rescue.
Exactly. So at least for the next 30 to 45 minutes, you will feel some happiness and joy in your life, which I guess you're welcome. So we have to traditionally shit on our listeners a little bit. so anyway,
People must be like, if this is little bit, how much will be a lot?
so I think this is when we have the most drop-offs from our listeners at approximately 30 seconds in. If you look at the statistics, people are like, fuck this, I'm going to not listen to these idiots, and then they leave. Which is unfortunate, but also...
No, that's actually
life.
cool because then the people who really, listen through this shit, then they at least get some sense of like, sanity
Right.
later in the episode.
True. Okay, so Ryan and I were discussing what to call this episode, and we called it Blue Bald. So, and for good reason, because we are talking about Cobalt today, which is blue. If you're ever a painter, there is a color called Cobalt Blue. I really like that color. So anyway, so Rao, why are we talking about Cobalt?
Yeah, so the previous discussion that we had, we had quite a lot of people come up to us regarding, talking a bit more about Cobalt and the EVs and all of that. And even we found it interesting that there is a lot more to dig in with this and China and, Congo and all of that. So
yeah, a lot to unpack there. Yeah, so what's going on is, I think in our EV episode we mentioned this, that cobalt is a super necessary material or a mineral that you need for building electric cars. So to give you a very high level summary, right, what happens is, or you as in you and me, because I did not know all this. So you have two terminals in batteries. Most people know this. There's an anode and a cathode, and the cobalt is in electric batteries is used in the cathode. It has two purposes basically. It prevents fires, which is pretty good, and then it also prevents the corrosion or rusting of the cathode. So it actually extends the battery life. And it's not a rare mineral, but there are specific deposits of cobalt in the world, and China is now controlling almost all of them. So to back up a little bit, Congo has, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, that's some ironic naming going on there, but the Democratic Republic of Congo has a lot of cobalt reserves, and they have a huge problem of child labor, slavery, abusive working conditions, etc. And it just happened to be that over the last 10 years, China just went in there through coercion, through making false promises, whatever, completely colonial British East India style.
Yeah, they took it from that handbook itself, I guess. They looked at what the British did back then, how they conquered, how they conquered all these territories, how unfair they were, and they're like, okay, this is what we need right now.
That's exactly what they did. So they went in and the story there is they promised Congo that they would build roads, ports, schools, hospitals, all the promises of a nice developed country. And in return, Congo will provide them with cobalt. So it's such a brilliant move because through making these promises, China has acquired a almost complete control of the cobalt reserves in the world, which is absolutely mind-boggling.
That is genuinely scary.
Yeah, and
that is scary because of how dominant the lithium batteries have started becoming in literally everything as we are moving towards clean energy and all of that.
right, exactly. And see, till date, so what was happening, right? Like you have cobalt in all these, all batteries have cobalt. So like your cell phone batteries, your laptop batteries, blah, 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 everything has cobalt. But the problem is with electric car batteries, these car batteries are insanely huge compared to your phone battery or your laptop battery. So the usage of cobalt is going to go up significantly in the next few years. So especially when you use an electric car example, an electric car has approx like 20 kg of cobalt per say 100 kilowatt hour battery. So approximately 10 pounds
Right.
for the Americans. This is huge. So just imagine that essentially there is an indirect control of the Chinese government on your electric car, regardless of where it is built in the world. And I find that extremely scary.
Exactly, man. And electric cars are, just the next thing, right? But I think even more than that, even industries and things like that are starting to move towards clean energy and stuff. So it was okay when it was at cell phone gadget level battery sizes, but like you mentioned, for EV it became significantly more quantities, and with industries and all also having all their equipment slowly and steadily moving towards electric, that's gonna be even larger than what cars are gonna need.
Yeah.
And China controlling that is like they are like so essentially this felt like the whole oil thing that the Brits or the Americans used to do all these years ago, where if oil is found in some country or some area, they used to go in and try to get that as a the resource to themselves or something like that. And this is exactly what China is doing now with batteries, which is the next oil.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, the ship has already sailed for that. So just a few months ago, China completed a transaction which allowed them to buy. Can you Google this for me, please? Like what the company's name is? I think it is called China Molybdenum or something like that. But this company now controls the complete. It has complete control of the largest cobalt mines in Congo. So
Yep, it is China Molybdenum Co. Limited.
right. So
Largest tungsten, yeah, a lot of largest, like five or so largest materials they are controlling or something like that.
that's fucked up. I mean, for the assholes on the listener list, this is a good investment opportunity. We give great financial advice on this podcast. So, the Roblox was a good one from the metaverse.
Financial advice is like a consequence of listening to our podcast.
Exactly. You might become rich, and imagine like you become happy and rich. That's amazing. What else do you want?
Like listen to two idiots talk and become rich. What more do you want in life?
Exactly. So invest in China molybdenum, support the evil empire, or don't. That's up to you. But I'm not telling you how to live your life. So anyway, so back to point. China molybdenum essentially controls Congo's cobalt. And I was just looking up what is the difference between, say, an American company controlling, a cobalt mine, and what is the difference between a Chinese company. And the differences aren't small. First of all, just inherently, the Chinese government is a communist government. So they don't give a fuck about, people's rights and all this stuff. This has been proven over and over again with their own population, with minorities in China. Truly, like this is not some woke minority rant. They actually abuse minorities in China. So you can go look up videos of people traveling to literally detention camps, and it's really fucked up. It's completely fucked up. So they do that.
They are the country who don't give a shit about their own citizens. Time and again they have shown that they don't really care about the humans even living in China.
No,
they just
don't.
want like whatever the government has set out to do, like maybe conquer countries or like get better at AI or whatever. That's what they give a shit about.
Yeah.
They don't care about people. People are just like consequence. Like it's like
exactly. Did you see, by the way, the Uyghur? I don't want to fuck this up, but there is a Uyghur. What is it called? The Uyghur.
I think Uyghur or Uyghur or something like that. We both must be really screwing up the pronunciation there. But yeah, the Muslim minority, right, in China.
Yeah, and did you see there is a video of a guy? I'm sure he's dead now. I'm not even kidding. I think this was posted maybe 2 weeks ago, 2 3 weeks ago, and the guy travels by car to this region in China where they have literally detention camps, prison centers. They call them re-education facilities, I think, and they essentially
Yep, something like that. Yeah, they
right.
try to make it sound like it's just they are just giving a free education or something like that. But essentially it's like detention camps or those Nazi things.
Exactly. That this is exactly what I was going to say. It is actually a Nazi thing. So it reminded me of Nazi detention camps and all these centers. So it's so fucked up. And the point here is like, well, they're doing this to essentially their own citizens. So just imagine them being in Congo. They are not going to give a fuck about what is happening to the people of Congo.
Not at all, man. Not at all. I guess for years no one gave a shit about Africa, right? I mean, India, Africa, all these countries, people like back then it was like the Britishers or the Americans used to do that in Africa or Middle East and all. Now China is doing it. And
Yeah.
to some degree, even in India, but at least, as a nation, India is better off than African nations.
No, I mean that is not even close. But I mean there is a huge that is not even a fair comparison. But I mean,
Exactly.
if you look at Congo, they don't even have roads. Have you seen videos of people in Congo? It's really sad.
Yeah, it's like the typical cliche African video that we usually see on news and stuff.
Right.
It literally is like that in so many places, right? I guess.
Right, exactly. So the point here was like China is going to abuse these places, and there are reports from on ground, reporters. Of course, there might be some bias involved here. So this was in like Western media reporting, but of course there have been abuses since the Chinese have taken over. Essentially, they got rid of safety, right? So first of all, safety was non-existent in Congo's mines, but they really just got rid of it. And so basically now you can show up in shorts to like mine this toxic mineral without any masks, and you just start digging. Essentially, that's what they want.
Human life is non-issue for China. It's like few people die every day. That's okay. As long as the efficiency of mining is good enough, they are good enough. Like good for it.
Exactly. They don't give a fuck. So there is a lot of abuses happening these days. And for anybody listening, you should go to YouTube and actually see movies and videos about cobalt mining in Congo. And you should see how people do this, because in this voice only podcast, it's not easy to convey what a serious problem this is. They're really like very poor people for literally dirt, nothing, but basically like scraps. They start digging day in, day out, and then they fill them in these sacks in completely unsafe conditions. Mind you, this is toxic. So they get cobalt is toxic. So they get all kinds of
what way? In what way is it toxic? Like,
it is toxic.
any idea?
It's it causes tumors, like all these things. It's fucked up. So if you're not supposed to handle cobalt in you can't eat it, for example. So, or you can't breathe it. And since they have no N95 masks and stuff, they do breathe it. And you can see all these miners, they not miners, as in miners, MINERS, they have they literally have issues. Some of them have like large tumors, like it affects the body. I'm not a medical expert.
Damn, man.
Yeah. And they keep digging for scraps, and what happens is they essentially go out to some mine that they don't even own. This is the other thing, we'll touch upon that. Put the ore into huge sacks, take them to Chinese traders, and then the Chinese traders pay them some money for it. I felt really sad after watching these videos. It was quite eye-opening.
Do you realize how sad the overall situation is for Congo? Like, I think due to lack of education of the people there, and as well as I bet a lot of corruption in the leadership, whoever is there, and all of that, and also China trying to be telling them fake promises and all. I was just thinking that day, like when we were speaking previously on this, that the promises of building schools and roads and all of that, if Congo would have just understood the gold mine that they are sitting on and would have sold this cobalt to the countries whoever wanted it first hand, then they could have literally gotten dollars back for it, and that would have helped them hire better talent to build roads and stuff like that, instead of
Exactly.
having it like a deal with China to exchange. And I bet you that the reality is that all those promises must have just like been done like only 20% or something.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
at the end of it, like they must not be having roads and schools and all of that.
Oh, they
And
definitely don't.
whoever, and was it the king, I guess, of Congo who did this, or maybe the prime minister, if it's quote unquote democratic.
Well, it's
So
they don't have a
yeah,
king per se, but they have a dictator. So they have a
right.
guy that just runs the country.
So then
And yeah,
the guy, what was he like thinking, right? When he did the deals with China, like why? I mean, you could have literally sold it, gotten way more money out of it at his personal level also. If he wanted money, he wanted to do corruption, he would have gotten way more money if he would have sold it himself, and he would have done at least some benefit to his people, right?
yeah.
Instead of
So
giving
there
it
is a
to a
failure of the American system here, and I just want to. I just read the story. It's true, so it's factual. So when this deal happened, the guy was only 33 years old, right? So a year older than I am, which is I mean you're a young adult, but I mean you're like you're a grown man, but being in charge of the entire country, maybe you don't have the experience for it. And he was some son
right.
of dictator, like some that kind of guy.
And I think
So
the dictator died or something, right? And that's why
yeah,
he came into power or something like that.
yeah, I think he
So
got assassinated, but I'm not sure, but something like that before he died, and then his son came into power. And then what happened is he went to China, and he said, like these are the demands that I have for blah 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 building, like you build all these hospitals, roads, etc., etc. And the Americans at the same time, like imagine, right, you have the same opportunity. I think I forget, there was a woman, I forget her name, maybe you can Google it on the side. We need a intern to Google stuff on the side for this podcast, don't you think?
yeah,
We
the intern needs to Google shit for us and send signal messages when we are talking.
No, really, I need this. So we are hiring, we're not paying, but we're hiring. So 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 we need this intern first of all. But the Americans, just Google her name, I don't remember her name, but she was the ambassador or whatever for Congo. And she goes in there and she presents this guy. You know what she presented him? The dictator, a Harley Davidson motorcycle, because he likes motorcycles. And there was some small talk between them, the Americans and the dictator, and that was the end of the meeting. Whereas the Chinese meeting went into basically like a PowerPoint presentation. They're like, boom, in this area we're going to build 100 miles of roads, like boom, 500 hospitals, boom, 500 schools, all this stuff. So as a immature dictator, right, what do you think is going to be cool? Okay, there is this Harley Davidson motorcycle that the Americans are giving me. On the other hand, I have millions, possibly billions of dollars for myself as a dictator. Maybe some Western passport that he can buy, move to Europe or something. And in addition to that, he, in his naive mind, thought, of course, that, China is going to give him all this stuff and the country all this stuff, so the country is going to be better for it. Even if he had good intentions, he got fooled. The oldest trick in the book,
Yeah, I think he might genuinely be having good intentions for his people. Can't say that he didn't. But I mean, how can he be so naive, man? It's China. I mean, come on. It is a communist country. It has been shown time and again since like history. Like if you just see any history, you should not rely on people like that, as in governments like that. You just shouldn't.
No,
Not
but
that the American government is like is gonna be the best or anything. Yeah, they'll of course have their own selfish interests, but at least it's gonna be way better than a communist government
yeah,
relying
but
on it.
see, the thing is, he did not have a choice. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like,
Yeah,
if
it
you
was
don't have a
Harley
choice,
versus yeah.
yeah.
No,
So
but no, the original point that I was trying to make, I think, is he shouldn't have chosen either of them, right? Neither the Americans nor the Chinese. He should have just used like whatever resources he had in his own country, like try to sell it off first, then start getting money from
right,
it, then hire talent. The way any say small startup would grow, right?
right,
If you don't have resources, you start shipping smaller products, you get profits from that, then you hire better talent, then you build larger and larger products. So I
right.
mean, it's easy for us to say after the events have happened and we weren't in his place and all of that, but still, I mean, that is what anyone should have had done, right?
Right. I mean, the other thing is, look at what the Saudis did, right? He could have looked at the Saudi example, which was basically a shithole village when they found oil. And after, they hired talent from all over the world. They did collaborations. Also, there is a lot of abuse there. So there is no free cake. But it is, I mean, Congo and, say, Dubai look completely like two different worlds today. So they could have followed
Indeed.
the Saudi model.
Indeed, man. And I think for the Saudi model, they did do what I was saying, right? I think they hired talent, and they didn't ask Americans or Chinese to uh, build them everything for exchange with directly with oil like that, right? I'm assuming.
No, there is a lot of exchange with the Americans, and it's not just that. There is also like military cooperation. So like the Americans have bases there and so on. So it's different,
Americans obviously have bases everywhere, so
right? But not in India. So not everywhere. So no, I really want to stress on that point, because this is where I really respect India for keeping separate from either Eastern or Western interests. They do their own thing. So
True
that's
that.
something to be proud of. Even if you don't get the best of the best technology, you are independent. There is a lot of value in that. So anyway, so back to this Congo point. You're right. I mean, the dictator could have chosen some other model, but see, greed at the end of the day gets everybody. Imagine that as a 33-year-old, somebody tells you that I'm going to give you $1 billion in a year and your country will be better, even if your country fucks up, which is exactly what happened here. Because the Chinese are approximately 20 minutes from parking, warships and like a military and having a military presence there. There probably already is. And, controlling that country. That is exactly what is happening. But the dictator got rich, he got very rich. He has made a
And
lot
he
of
got
money.
instantly rich. Like, he would have gotten richer if he would have done his own thing, but it would have taken time and effort. Whereas here, he just sat in his, mansion and he just got money.
Right.
I think
No,
there's
really,
that too.
that's exactly what has happened. And this is a theme that you see in all these countries where there are no good governments. Dictatorships try to overthrow each other. There are assassinations. So he must be looking for a quick in and out. He's not interested in sitting there for 35 years and then seeing a great Congo rise and all that. No, he wants his $1 billion, whatever his money is, and then he wants to get out. So this is exactly what he did. He followed the African dictator model, and as a consequence, now China controls a lot of the cobalt supply of the world.
Dude, just think about it. Like, just right now while we were talking, I just got that a thought where we always say, right, that Africa as a whole is kind of dealt with really bad weather, heat, not epic resources, all of that. So a lot
No,
of
no,
poverty, this,
dude,
that.
what are you talking about? They have
No,
some
no,
of
no,
the
no.
most
Conventionally,
no, that's what I'm saying,
like,
dude. Like, they have natural resources wise, Africa is the richest place on earth.
so it wasn't discovered all these years, right? So that's why all of them were extremely poor, right? Is what I'm saying.
No.
But
They were discovered. They were just abused. So that's the problem with Africa. So it was just
but it's
abused.
not but it's not as great as like the cobalt like mines whatever they've found. I think that is extremely in need and not there in any other place, like very less in across the world, right? Is what I'm trying to get at. Okay, so the point I was trying to make is that if they were enough educated, if they were enough they had good leadership, they could have been literally one of the best countries in the world. Like the region they are in currently, like the all those African countries would have been rich developed countries if they had
True.
like vision. And this is something which I appreciate about the West. I always think like West, yeah, they might be, especially back in the day, Brits and all of that, even Americans, ethically questionable things they might have done. But one thing that they always had is, I think, vision of what they want to do, where they want to go, both technologically, power, all that. And that is, I
Right.
think, what many of East lacked for all these years. Now of course India, China are doing good recently, so that's good.
Yeah.
But conventionally,
No, I mean, that is exactly right. And I think this is the root of complaints for a lot of the woke population these days, that claim that the white man has, essentially fucked the world over many times. whatever, we are not going to get into that. But the Chinese government is doing exactly that now, and in some regard you can't blame them. It's, it's a power struggle, either you win or you lose. But the way they do it is really bad. So I don't blame anybody for trying to make progress or making money or making the country better, but doing it at the expense of other countries or doing it at the expense of your own people, in my opinion, is ethically wrong. Of
It
course.
was ethically, yeah, it was ethically wrong even when, the Americans or the Brits did it, and it's ethically wrong even when the Chinese are doing it. It's not your country, you should have no business there, basically,
Yeah.
of like treating those people badly.
Yeah, but
And I think if China was democratic and they had better ethics, I don't think the world or us, we would have been that annoyed with it, because if they just because they are getting more powerful wouldn't itself be something which everyone in the world would have been alerted with. But the fact that they are a dictatorship, it's a closed box inside, they are not treating humans well, I think that's where the whole issue with China and all of this comes.
Yep. And they are combining technology with abuse, right? Which is the most fucked up thing. So with these Muslim minorities in China, they are using some of the most advanced camera and vision systems, combining them with like sophisticated AI systems to detect, mark, and track people, all this stuff. So they're uniquely
They're
abusive.
essentially, yeah, exactly, man. They're essentially like the dystopian future that is always shown in the movies, right? They're literally doing that right now.
Yep. And shout out to our own episode, Brave New World. Go ahead and listen to that. Give us a spike in views.
Yep.
Had
Dope
to.
one.
Yeah, that's a good placement, right? I think that's
Yep,
well placed.
that's a good shameless plug.
That's a good
It's not shameless. It's our podcast, damn it.
Yeah, no, it is shameless. I'm pretty shameless about our podcast. So go listen to it and give us your money, buy our merch. Okay, moving on. So,
Don't start with the merch thing.
speaking of which, I think we need to hire some locals in India to create some cheap merch.
Yeah, man. Ship it across the world.
Yeah, free shipping as long as you pay us for it. So it's we'll come up with some merch. Ra, you're a talented graphic designer, right? Why don't you make some t-shirts or something for this podcast?
Yeah, that's the next project I'll take up.
Okay, cool. So Ra has promised us shirts and free shipping when you pay us for it. So that's we promise those things. So, but anyway, back to what we were talking about. It is uniquely abusive because they're combining technology, right, with their abusive mentality. So I think this is a huge red flag and something that the world should consider seriously, especially when looking at issues like Cobalt. And when I say the world should consider seriously, what does that mean? Okay, so when you're buying your next electric car, maybe take 10 seconds out and check what kind of battery it has. So if it has some abusive Cobalt battery, and this is my bad, like the Tesla that I have does use Cobalt, and currently there are not too many alternatives for you as a consumer, unfortunately.
Bro, you should throw your Tesla.
Let's
today.
do it. I'm throwing it in the river.
Burn it, bro. Burn it.
Burn it. Actually, if it doesn't have Cobalt, it'll burn anyway. So I just need a Cobalt-free battery. So then you can just drive it and it'll set itself on fire. But the thing is, there are alternatives in the world. Ironically, Tesla in China has started using a high nickel cathode, which does not use Cobalt anymore. So I thought that was
0% Cobalt?
0% Cobalt, yeah. Completely Cobalt-free. And they have slightly lower lifetime on this battery, as we know. They have slightly lower range, and I think there's something else. But overall, it's
why are they
comparable.
using that in China, by the way? Like,
Well,
as ironical as it is, why?
So Tesla wants to shift their entire battery technology to be Cobalt free, exactly for the reasons that we talked about. So in the last few years, they have done a lot of research to use high nickel cathodes in their Cobalt free batteries. So this battery is called a LFP, so lithium iron phosphate battery. So it does not use any cobalt. And they can offer this also at a lower price, because what happens is the moment you're dependent on cobalt because of these abusive conditions and a singular point of control, you have to pay good money for it, as opposed to an LF or LPF Can you Google it, please? I'm away
I
from
think
my
it's
keyboard.
LFP, right? Lithium
L-
ferrophosphate.
Yeah, you're right. LFP or whatever the battery is. The cobalt-free battery is much cheaper to buy or cheaper to produce. So it's also advantageous for Tesla to produce cheaper batteries, and then as a consequence, they're also cobalt-free. So that's fucking awesome in my opinion.
That's cool, man. There was one more technology which, as in one more type that I read, and I was like, how is that even possible? It's what? Lithium air, Li air battery.
Okay, what's that?
So basically, the cathode is air.
Oh, what? Okay.
No idea how that is supposed to work, but yeah, the cathode is essentially air,
Okay.
and the lithium is anode, basically. So lithium metal is anode, and cathode is air.
Wow, that'll be amazing. So I think there will be a shift to cobalt-free batteries, and I hope that's the case. It's very hard to do. It's not easy, but given the innovation, of humans,
The entire industry, yeah, as a whole.
yeah. So I can't wait for a time when we are not dependent on China for something like electric cars. For I don't know why, but for some reason these things bother me a little bit.
I think electric cars hits home for you.
I think so.
Every time you drive your Tesla, you're like, China.
Every time you
China.
every time you drive it, you
I
hear
hate
this voice in your head that says you're a commie.
Call me.
Nobody.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Every time you put down accelerate, it's like you call me.
That would be pretty funny if they make that sound available in the Tesla app so that you switch to cobalt-free Teslas. But
Yeah, Elon can do that, bro.
Elon can do that.
If he can put fart cushions on chairs, that effect is there, right? I heard it's there.
Yep.
So,
It's awesome.
So he can do this.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how many people I have quote unquote impressed with this feature. Especially women, they love this stuff. They sit in your car, and you can map it to the horn button or some button. So when you just hit the horn, they fart. So it's pretty funny.
Oh man, Tesla is for kids, basically.
Yeah, no,
It's just adults who haven't grown up, basically.
exactly. It's very funny, and it also works in stereo, which is awesome. You can fart all around the car. So. Anyway, so do we have anything to add on this Cobalt, or should we just call it?
Yup. So in short, don't buy. Check the sources of your battery, basically.
Check the sources of your battery and encourage your friends and yourself to also look at how stuff is mined. There is something about the human brain that when you see something, even if it's on YouTube, then it impacts you more than listening about it or reading about it. So go to YouTube.
And we should put those videos on the the show notes section. So we'll try to, if we find anything, we'll definitely link that up. Please do check that out.
Yeah, we'll link all that out. And cool. So that's it. Anything else?
So the merch.
The
Buy our
merch. So do you know anybody?
Which doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But maybe we should at least make shirts for you and me. Why not? So
which no one will see, but at least we'll feel awesome while recording the podcast.
no, we'll put it on our Instagram so everybody will see. I'll put at least 30 to 35 people will see. So however many people view my Instagram. So,
I thought 3 people will see.
oh no, we've gone up, bro. I think we are doing good these days. It's
Damn,
our stats are up. We are
the metrics are looking better.
we are into the big
So
double digits
sweet.
now. So
Dope.
metrics are looking good. Cool. All right. We are going to call it. That's the end of the episode. Thanks for
Yep.
listening. Until next time.